do. I'll give you guys a couple minutes to get in here before we get started tonight. Man, what a SummerSlam, right? What a SummerSlam. Get in here, get your beverage ready. Let's have a fun time tonight. What do y'all say? Mm-hmm. And then somebody in the chat somebody in the chat make sure that you guys can hear me. Just give me like a thumbs up or an okay, something. Just let me know. Hopefully we don't lag too much, but oof. Perfect. All right. Thank you guys. All right, we'll get started here. But yo, what's going on, everybody? It is your boy Fitz TV here, aka Glorn33. We're back here tonight with the Legit Shoot podcast. Here tonight with your WWE Summerslam 2024 review and results. It is feels really good to be here with you guys tonight. I know it's been a while, but this was a show I was thinking about, making a comeback. And really quick, I don't know what this means if I will be back consistently going forward. I hope I will be, but life's been crazy for me, so I can't make any promises. But at least tonight, let's have some fun and let's talk some WWE here, just like the good old days. I know I missed you guys. You guys have missed me. I get you guys' your comments and your social media hits all the time. So it does feel good to be here with you guys tonight, and hopefully, let's have an awesome time and let's talk some wrestling. So, yes. So the big thing, SummerSlam. SummerSlam, the show just ended just a couple minutes ago, and what a SummerSlam it was. I'll come out and say this was a great show. This was a fantastic PLE. I don't think I'll ever get used to calling it a PLE. I want to call it a PPV, a pay-per-view, but this was an awesome show. There was a lot from epic returns, like the return of Roman Reigns. Even though most of us knew he was going to come back tonight, most of us had predicted that this would be the night he would come back since WrestleMania. Still, it didn't make his return any less epic. The Tribal Chief is back. So that was one thing. We also had some fantastic matches tonight. Which these PLEs almost never have any bad matches on there. And then we also had, some new champions. We had a good amount of new champions tonight, more than I personally expected. And we also had some crazy, crazy betrayals. Mainly, of course, the big one, the downfall of the Judgment Day is here. Both Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest, the leaders of the Judgment Day, both were betrayed by Judgment Day members. And it looks like, the era of the current Judgment Day is ending, and we're entering the new era of the Judgment Day, led by Finn Balor. And we'll talk about all of that. But as always, first off, before we get into it, like I said, my name is Fitzpong TV. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure to click the bell next to my name, Fitzpong TV, so you guys are notified every time I post a new video. We do tons of things on the channel, from wrestling to anime to a little bit of gaming here and there. I'm in the process of, potentially starting up a Twitch channel. I think, definitely that might be, once I get it all set up, that might be from where we do future reviews and not reviews and reacts, but live reactions. Like, I think that might be where we do like live reactions to WWE and other shows like anime and stuff like that. So I've never done Twitch. I've been doing YouTube for pretty much a decade now, but we've never done Twitch. So that is something that is could be on the way here very very soon here on the channel. I want to change things up here a little bit as we enter the end of the summer and get into the fall months here. So that's just something I want you guys to be just a little bit aware of. You might be seeing that here on the channel soon. But yeah. But like I said, we are going to be talking about SummerSlam here tonight. Super chats are open, so if you guys want to donate anything, you guys can. First of all, everything that you guys give to the channel is put right back into it. So like I said, I appreciate all that as well. Like, make sure you guys are giving your comments if you guys are watching live. Let me know your thoughts on the show. Let me know, where you think some of the new storylines that were started tonight are going. Things you guys think that's going to be coming up in WWE. SummerSlam tonight. This is the second biggest pay-per-view of the year for WWE, and it did not disappoint. Did not disappoint at all. This was a fantastic show. Of course, the biggest thing, like I said, was the return of Roman Reigns, and he came back to help Cody Rhodes. So before we get into this, that I usually, for those of you who know, I usually come and talk about like my biggest take, right? The legit open, I like to call it. And of course, let's talk about Roman, right? Roman, of course, has been gone since WrestleMania. Some people down like, is he gonna come back this year? We all, or at least in my opinion, I always knew that Roman was gonna come back, right? You know, but the question would be, when Roman came back, what would be the first thing they would do with him? Would he come back for Cody Rhodes, right, and try to win back the undisputed WWE Championship that he lost, that he had held for over 3.5 years, or would he come back for Solo Sikoa, right? Solo, who has declared himself the new tribal chief, right? The new leader of the bloodline in Roman's absence. But in doing so, over the last couple months, Solo has taken dig after Roman. He's called Roman a weak tribal chief. He called Roman not able to lead the bloodline and that he wasn't focused anymore. Many different things. Right, he got rid of Paul Heyman, the wise man. Right, he's completely taken out the old leaders of the bloodline, like Paul Heyman, like Jimmy Uso, who he took out, I believe, the first SmackDown after WrestleMania, and Jimmy has not been on TV since. He's brought in Tamatoga, Jacob Fatu, and he's formed his new bloodline faction. So everyone was wondering, will Roman go back for the championship that he lost and never got a rematch for, or would he come back for Solo, right? And we knew that Roman would come back as a babyface. That was always going to be the case. Always going to be the case. Roman was going to come back as a babyface, and this is pretty much what WWE has wanted now for a decade. Ever since Vince McMahon first declared Roman Reigns as the face of WWE back in 2014 after the Shield broke up. All those years, Vince tried to force feed Roman as a babyface, and it just never worked. They forced him in WrestleMania main event after Mania, no matter if it was against Brock Lesnar multiple times, Triple H, The Undertaker, right? Then the fans just wouldn't accept it because it was so forced. And then finally, when COVID came, right, which was a blessing in disguise for Roman, they finally turned him heel. The tribal chief, head of the table gimmick was formed. And then Roman went on that unbelievable run and became, in my opinion, he went from a superstar to a legend. And you always knew as they went through the Bloodline saga, right, or the first part of the Bloodline saga, that when the day came and they actually turned Roman back into a babyface, it would actually work this time for real. Something that they had wanted to do for such a long time. And then even though Vince, had his problems and, he finally stepped down from WWE and Triple H took over, you still knew, especially with Triple H in charge, you knew that when the time came for Roman Reigns to turn babyface, it was going to be a special moment. And then after Roman lost to Cody Rhodes, you heard it. Literally the first SmackDown after WrestleMania, the We Want Roman chants. And then literally every single week after that on live events all over the place, right? And now Roman Reigns is back. And Roman got an amazing pop tonight. And now he is back as a babyface. And now we are now onto this new storyline with Roman Reigns and the bloodline. And it's gonna be interesting to see how they go about it. Because there's a lot to really uncover here. And we're not gonna do it all tonight because of course we could spend hours just talking about how this how this new bloodline story is gonna go with Roman Reigns finally back. But we'll just talk about it a little bit. Roman came back tonight. I will say this: he came out with officially new music. It was basically the music that he debuted at WrestleMania Night 2, and it's a banger. It's a great song. I love it, but it doesn't. It's gonna take time because Roman's old theme was amazing. His old theme was amazing. It was Final Boss music, right? And this one still is really good. It's good, but it's gonna take time, and I just don't know if it's on the level of the music Roman had the last 2 years prior. But still, we'll see. Like I said, it's basically just a remix of Roman's old head of the table gear. But Roman came out with a OTC shirt, so basically original tribal chief, right? And then he came out, and you could see the shocked face on both Solo and Cody. Cody didn't expect Roman of all people to be there, and then Solo, of course, was shocked to see that Roman finally came back after Solo kept saying that Roman would never come back. Roman comes out, hits Solo with a Superman, because you don't know, the commentators did a good job of teasing it, right? Corey saying, "Oh, Roman's here for Cody Rhodes, the guy who took the WWE Championship away from him at WrestleMania," while Pat's saying, "Oh no, Roman's here for Solo because Solo, has been talking trash and made himself the new tribal chief these last couple months." Roman comes out, and he teases just for a second that he's gonna Superman punch Cody, but then no, he hits Solo with a huge Superman punch with a huge eruption from the crowd, and then he hits him with a spear. Then he looks at Cody, nods his head, exit the ring, and then Cody hits him with a crossroads, and the whole time he's looking straight at Roman, who is nodding in his head in approval. All right, a couple of things, and we'll talk about the rest of the match in a little bit, right? The first thing that comes to my mind is I love Cody, right? But one thing that is very interesting here is you can make the argument that what they did tonight makes Cody actually look weak. What do I mean by that? Right? I'm not talking about the bloodline rules or anything, but the fact is, you think about WrestleMania, Cody needed all that help to beat Roman, right? And that was like the Avengers Endgame of WWE, right? Amazing moment. And then, now you come and Cody, should have probably lost to Solo, right? And we're just talking about in terms of the match. All the finishers he took, he got his ass whooped. And then at the last moment, right, when it looks like Cody's down and out, here comes Roman Reigns, of all people. Roman Reigns, and Roman comes out and he saves Cody, right? And you see the pop he gets. You can make an argument now going forward, especially now with SmackDown moving to USA Network in a couple weeks, right? As WWE prepares, Raw, slowly gets ready to go to Netflix at the end of the year. You can make an argument that Cody's not the number one babyface in WWE. He's not even the number one babyface on his own show. It's Roman. And maybe I'm wrong. Time will tell. But of course, especially now, Roman's been gone now for 4 months. He just come back to an epic return, epic reaction, right? Of course, I'm guessing he'll be on SmackDown this Friday. We'll see when that gets announced. And then, right, from there, Roman's gonna get a huge reaction on SmackDown, and we'll see where this goes, and then we'll also see what's next for Cody. Does Cody just go on and have a new challenger, or will Cody now be involved with this bloodline storyline? Now that Roman's back, but you can make an argument now that Roman's the top guy. It'll be interesting to see how the ratings, because the ratings were fine, but we'll see how does Roman's return, affect the ratings. Of course, we know Roman's not going to be there every single week. He's a part timer, you know, but when Roman is there, you can expect people are going to tune in, and then thinking that this story drags out all the way. The Bloodline story is going to be a never-ending saga, because when you have all these Samoans part of this bloodline, right? This is a story you can keep going and going and going forever, right? But we think, of course, probably the end of this saga of the bloodline will probably be WrestleMania if we do get Roman and Rock next year, right? I know, it could be Rock and Cody, but there's, many different avenues that they can take this. So it'll be interesting to see, is Roman actually the number one babyface, and it's not Cody, and that's Cody who is the WWE champion, who's supposed to be the face of the company. It'll be interesting to see. That's why I'm saying that this, kind of, it'll be interesting how this affects Cody in the long run. Cody's over. We all know how amazing Cody is. He's the face of the company, but you can make an argument that the return of Roman does hurt him just a little bit. But at the end of the day, Roman's return is going to create so much more business for everybody else, right? And, more and more people are going to pay attention to the business now, because Roman is back. Because Roman has, elevated himself to a new level of superstardom, So it's going to be interesting where this goes. Another thing I want to know from the main event tonight is, I'm sorry to say this, but Solo Sikoa is not ready. He's not, right? This was one of the biggest things. For me going into the match. Yes, we all knew Roman was coming back. We all knew all this cool stuff, was going to happen, with another like Avengers Endgame. KO comes out, Randy comes out, all this cool stuff. Right. But the biggest thing for me, I was like, you have Solo Sikoa in the main event of SummerSlam. Solo Sikoa is main eventing your second biggest show of the year. And of course, everyone says the biggest reason was that because if Roman was not coming back, this match does not main event the show. Right? But still, I wanted to see if Solo was going to, be able to, really give us a real performance, a real all-star performance here, and, try to bring himself into that next level, right? But we didn't get that. A lot of this was just Cody really, Cody carrying Solo to a really good match. That's really what it was. Solo was disappointing. There was a couple of missed bumps here and there. And then Solo just wasn't that good. I was really disappointed with him. There was a moment, of course, where it'll be interesting to see. It looked like Jacob Fatu may have like injured himself, right, when he put Cody through the table. Because you could see like he's grabbing at like his ankle or his leg, and it looked like he just couldn't stand up. And like Jacob Fatu's like yelling at Solo like, finish him, get him back in the ring, finish him, right? Almost like Jacob Fatu was the leader of the bloodline and not Solo. But I just didn't like Solo's performance tonight. Like this is the type of performance that even though you know that Solo's not winning, right? You're supposed to go into it, and Solo is supposed to have people coming out of it really talk about, Solo was great. This is really gonna help captivate him, catapult him into the main event scene going forward. But it didn't. I actually came out of this match. Excuse me for the burp. Lower on Solo than I originally was. So that's one, and that's another thing. Like going forward with this Roman Reigns, because it'll be interesting to see. Of course, we're expecting our Roman back, right? Paul Heyman will be back. Jimmy Uso will be back. How does Jay get involved? Will we see like Sami Zayn get involved, right? We're thinking probably like Survivor Series this year will be like Bloodline, some kind of Bloodline Civil War at War Games. But what would make the most sense if they, they're not, because I don't expect them to do Roman and Cody anytime soon, but you never know. But what I would think, either if they're gonna do Roman versus Cody, Solo would then cost Roman, or you do what would probably make the most logical sense is Roman versus Solo, right? I'm not over here thinking that Roman and Solo is some like, oh, like WrestleMania type match. It's nothing. Like, in my opinion, no. Solo hasn't earned that right? Of course, the story would be great, but Roman and Solo as just a big high level match is not something I'm like, right, going crazy. Like I can't wait for Roman Solo. I'm more just excited that Roman's back on television to see, and I'm excited to see where the story goes. I'm not really invested in a Roman versus Solo 5-star classic. I'm not saying it can't be great, but after what I saw tonight, I'm just like, I'm a little bit down on Solo at the moment, and like what maybe like the next PLE is Bash at Berlin at the end of the month on the last day of the month, August 31st, which is, I believe, that's 4 weeks from now. Maybe that's when they do it, right? Maybe they do Roman versus Solo 101. Or maybe they do like Roman builds his way up to Solo. I don't know. Like maybe like Roman has to face like Tamatoga, and Jacob Fatu. I think a Roman versus Jacob Fatu is a match is something I would be very interested in. But we'll have to see, like where this goes, and of course, at the back of our minds, we also have to see where does The Rock fit, the final boss. Where does he fit in all this, right? Eventually, of course, Rock will come back at some point, probably next year. But where's Rock's fit in all this? Does he go after Cody? Is he on Solo's side, and or has Solo secretly been working with The Rock? Right? There's a lot of different ways, um, that they can go about this. But the biggest thing then they is that Roman is back, and that is big for everything. Um, but we'll see. We'll just have to see. But it's great to see that Roman is back, and we just gotta take it from there. Yeah, but let me know in the chat or in the comment section what was your reaction to Roman coming back tonight. There was some people that were saying that, oh, Roman isn't coming back tonight. He'll come back at a later date this year. And I was like, guys, what bigger date would there be for Roman to come back? You have SummerSlam in a stadium, 6,000 people in there. It's WWE's biggest show outside of WrestleMania and the Rumble. There's not going to be a bigger show for WWE this year. Survivor Series isn't a stadium show. Survivor Series is Survivor Series, but it's not on the level of SummerSlam, Money in the Bank, Royal Rumble, and WrestleMania. So if there was any time for Roman to come back, it would be now. So it was pretty obvious from the jump. And like I said, one thing about WWE is, they can be a little bit predictable with their endings or their returns or their betrayals, right? But especially when you've been watching wrestling as long as I have, right? You can predict these things, but that's the fun of it. That's what we love. So I have no worry. I have no problem with that. And the thing about it is, even though you predict it's gonna happen, it still makes it a lot more enjoyable when you actually see it happen on your screen, right? So really cool stuff. I'm drinking this water way too quick, but yeah. Let me know when you guys are getting that OTC shirt. One thing I want to check is to make sure, of course, we know that the press conference going on right now. I love seeing everyone's reaction to Roman being back, bro. Even though it was so obvious. Pat McAfee's is like, oh! I love how when Roman comes out, he's not even looking at the crowd. He's more just looking. He was more just looking down at the floor. Like he's pissed. That, I would say this. That SummerSlam stage was great. That was a great looking stage. It's interesting to see, like, you know, depending on like what arena they're in, if they're doing like an international show or something like that. WWE has like a generic PLE set design, but for these big shows, they really go out. The SummerSlam stage, it was very. I loved it. Very very good. Oh, definitely. After we go off the once we end the review tonight, definitely will be going back and watching Roman's return. They already got the original Tribal Chief Roman Reigns shirt um, on WWEshop.com. It's a good shirt, man. Roman has some very, very good shirt. Let me see. Yeah, it doesn't look like um, nothing much yet. But like I say, if you guys in the chat see anything on social media that I need to is there something that I need to check out? Let me know. Let me know. But yeah, we're gonna get into the rest of the show. There's a couple things I'll mention about Roman or Solo and Cody in here in a little bit. But let's get back to the rest of the show. But oh, so there is a video showing Jacob Fatu having to be held to the back by ref. So man, maybe it is an ankle injury. And you can see he's hobbling. So we'll see. Prayers up on Jacob Fatu. But let's get back into the rest of SummerSlam. So the show started off with Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley for the WWE Women's Championship or the Women's World Heavyweight Championship. Um I'll be on. This has been one of my favorite storylines all year. You guys know how much I love women's wrestling, and I am a big fan of both of these women. Rhea Ripley is the number one women's wrestler, maybe in the world right now, right? And Liv Morgan has been, I think, is one of the most underrated wrestlers. But she has been fantastic these last couple of months, especially embracing this Liv Morgan revenge tour. And how everything has to do with Rhea Ripley and Dominic Mysterio, right? And we all know when Liv, originally of course this all goes back to when Liv originally got injured by Rhea Ripley last year with a shoulder injury, right? While Rhea was champion, Liv came back, and then Liv, attacked Rhea. I believe it was the night after WrestleMania, if I was right. Um, and then that actually resulted in an actual injury for Rhea. It wasn't, of course, Liv wasn't actually trying to injure her, but it made perfect sense. It was like WWE fell into this amazing story, right? It fell right into their laps, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, we can work with this, and and then Liv Morgan embraced the Liv Morgan revenge tour. She said this always ends with Rhea Ripley, right? And then originally, then they made Becky champion. A couple weeks after Rhea had to relinquish the title, right? And I know some people were unhappy at the time, but it was because they were setting up for a bigger Liv Morgan moment that happened at the Saudi Arabia show. I forget what it was called. What Class of Champions or whatever. Um, and then Liv Morgan becomes champion, and then they go into this storyline with her and Dominic Mysterio, right? And basically, the whole thing, Liv is like, I want to take everything from Rhea Ripley, not just the women's championship. I want to take everything, which of course Dom, her Latino heat. And then they did the we. Of course, we've seen that how that storyline has played out, right? Liv kissing Dom after retaining the title, and then them having this like back and forth the last couple weeks, and then Rhea came back, right? And then Rhea, Dom chooses Rhea over Liv. And then, but it was at that moment I was like, okay, this is clearly, because it was not going to be as easy as Rhea just comes back and she just gets her title and then that's it, right? You can tell, of course, they've turned Rhea into a babyface, and same thing what they've done with Damian Priest, right? It was a organic babyface turn. It wasn't like an obvious one. And then, some may say Liv is a heel, right? Of course, especially because he cheats to win. But Liv also has a good amount of fans now. One thing that I like about WWE now is like it's not always obvious who's the babyface or heel. They're trying to make the story make sense from both perspectives, right? With the storylines that they're telling, and it's like it's on the viewer to figure out. All right, you root for whoever you want, no matter if it's Liv and Rhea, or no matter if it's like what they did with Roman and Cody, or what they did CM Punk and Drew McIntyre tonight, right? You pick your side, of course, sometimes it is obvious who the heel is, but that blurring of the lines sometimes with the storyline allows you to understand the storyline from different perspectives and enjoy it more at the end of the day. So you have what happens, and Rhea, everyone's like, oh yeah, Rhea's gonna win her title back. I was like, it's never that simple. It's never that simple. Yes, Rhea is the most over. She's the best. She's the number one female superstar in the company right now, and it's really not that close. But look at with the work Liv Morgan's doing. You don't just take the title off of Liv right now. Liv's probably doing the best work of her career, right? Especially now, you kind of want to. You can do like a slow build to Rhea getting back her title back. If Rhea never got injured, would this be the case? That's a different story. That's a different story. You can make an argument that Rhea should go on if she never got injured, she should have held that title for like 2 years, right? But of course, Rhea got injured, but it allowed WWE to fall into this really amazing story that has been really entertaining, right? But the second that Dom chose Rhea over Liv, right, and you had Rhea just licking Dom's face and giving him cheek kisses, getting everybody jealous, right? I knew what the end game was. I knew that most likely Liv would win at SummerSlam and then would leave the arena with Dom. It was classic storytelling 101. That's what WWE does. They want to make you believe one thing, and then the other, and then the other actually is what happens at the end of the day. It was obvious, point blank. But yeah, and that's exactly what we got tonight. If I had done a preview and predictions show, I would have probably gotten all my picks right tonight, outside of one. I'll let you guys know what that pick was wrong when we get there. But yeah, it was super obvious that Liv was gonna retain, and then she was gonna walk out with Dominic Mysterio. That's what the storyline was leading to. They wanted to make you believe that, all right, Rhea's about to get her title back. Dom and Rhea are back together, right? And all is right in the Judgment Day. But whenever you think the obvious is gonna happen, that's when WWE flips the switch and they pivot, and that's when you get epic moments like we got tonight. So the show starts off. Rhea, and Dom are backstage, getting ready for the match, and it look like everything is right. Rhea comes out to a huge pop, and then Rhea looks really, really good, man. Buddy Matthews is a lucky guy. Rhea Ripley is whoosh. But then Liv Morgan comes out, right? She got a pretty good pop as well. And yeah, this, like I said, this was a really, really good match from start to bottom. Liv spent the first part of the match running from Rhea, and then Rhea got frustrated, right, that she couldn't get her hands on Liv, right? But then the match happened. Rhea took control, right? There was a really, really cool moment where really wacky moment that I noticed because I played varsity volleyball in high school, and I've had a dislocated shoulder since then, so I know exactly what this feels like. Um, what happened? So basically, what's it called? Rhea tries to shoulder tackle Liv on the announce table, but then she went face and her shoulder went. It looked like her shoulder actually popped out, right? I don't know if they did that on purpose or what. Rhea, you know, puts it back in. I know exactly what that feeling is like. I've been dealing with a bad, like I said, I've been dealing with a bad shoulder ever since I was in high school. Um, so some may look at it cheesy. I liked it, of course. And we knew that Rhea was out the last couple of months with a shoulder or a legitimate shoulder injury. Um, anyway, so then going forward into the match, Morgan began focusing on the shoulder injury. Um, you know, Rhea went from a suicide dive, but Dom sacrificed himself. Um, but you can see, and they really focus on like the biggest thing was the Rhea and Dom relationship. This whole time, the whole match, they make you think that everything's fine between Rhea and Dom, but things are not fine. Um, But yeah, a lot of this match was really storytelling. It was a banger of a match. But it wasn't like they were going 100 miles per hour doing all of these big moves, trying to wow the crowd. They really wanted you to focus on the story of Rhea and Dom's relationship, and of course the end where everything absolutely implodes. Right? Um, so basically, there was a moment where Rhea wanted to use a chair on Liv and ended her, and ended right, right there and all. But Dom stops Rhea and just remind her that you can't win. You have to win by pinfall or submission. You use the chair, you're gonna get DQ'd. But Morgan used the distract to hit the Oblivion for a very close 2 count. But Rhea barely kicked out. Then near the end, we see Dom distract the ref and Liv ends up hitting a second Oblivion on that same chair that Dom took away from Rhea earlier to get the win in an absolutely shocking moment. And then that was even the biggest shock, right? Liv retains, which that finish you could have predicted, right? With Dom, interfering. But the biggest thing um was afterwards. Afterwards, you see Dom. Dom is smiling, right? Has an evil grin, and then he picks up Liv, right, who is sitting on the ramp with the title, kisses her right in front of Rhea, and um basically then walks out with Rhea, and then they're holding each other's arms as the new WWE power couple, while Rhea is absolutely stunned in the ring. Left in the ring, she is a mix of angry, she's crying a little bit, right? She doesn't know what to think. Not only was she not able to get back her women's championship, but she loses Dom at the same time as well. And then there was also this backstage video of Rhea walking backstage after losing the match, and you could tell she is absolutely destroyed. Her emotions are all over the place. Plus, remember, like this Dom Rhea storyline has been going on for what, about 2 years now on WWE TV. Pretty close to 2 years. Around 2 years since Dom first turned on Ray and joined the Judgment Day back in the early days of the Judgment Day. That was right after I believe Edge got kicked out of the group. So here we are, about pretty much 2 years later, and now things have come full circle, and Dom turns on Rhea. Wild stuff, wild stuff. Um, it's funny. I always wonder, like, how is it when, like, of course, it's like it's scripted, but I always find it funny, like, when Rhea, like, how does Rhea have these conversations with like her husband Buddy Matthews, who's in AEW? We know Buddy Matthews. He tweeted, "Hey Tony Khan, can I go help mommy real quick? To go help his his real life wife, right? Excuse me, I don't know why I'm burping so much. And then we know Dom's married as well. It's always funny to me how they do this stuff on WWE TV. Saying, yeah, I'm gonna go make up with Liv Morgan tonight, or Rhea Ripley's gonna lick my ear, and make up with my face. I find that so funny sometimes. Like, yeah, how's work? Well, honey, I kissed two girls today. One with black hair, and I kissed a blonde. Oh, what? You know, but I don't know. I always find that funny. But I think the biggest thing also is that now that this is done, what's the next chapter? One thing I think that would be interesting is we have Bad Blood coming up. I believe it's here in September, October. I think that's gonna be like Hell in a Cell for this year. I can see them doing like one, maybe even two Hell in a Cell matches on that show, right? I think one of those matches potentially could be Liv versus Rhea Ripley for the women's world title potentially. Who knows? Um, I definitely think it's a feud that's deserving of it, right? The Liv Morgan revenge tour is, pretty much complete now. Not only is she the women's world champion, but she beat Rhea Ripley tonight. She also took Dom away, so Liv completed her mission to take everything that was important to Rhea Ripley away from her. So how will Rhea respond? And of course, we'll talk about what happened with Damian and Finn Balor here a little bit later, but how will Rhea respond? Right? Does WWE take a pause on this feud for now, or how? What is Rhea? Not only did Rhea lose, Rhea lost everything, tonight. So how will Rhea respond going forward? That would be very interesting to see. I definitely think Rhea will be Women's World Champion again. But how soon? I don't know. Liv has been very good as Women's World Champion. Um, One thing that's also interesting is Raw's women's division is pretty good. They have a lot of talent on there. SmackDown is like, if you're asking me, in the middle, right? So, like I said, do they start having a new challenger for Liv, or do they continue this with Rhea Ripley, right? Who knows? Maybe we'll get a Rhea Ripley Dominic match here coming, in the coming weeks. I don't know, but with all this stuff, it makes Monday Night Raw actually must see for Monday, But really still good stuff. This was one of my favorite moments of the night. Like I said, even though it was obvious, still the execution of it was really, really well done. After the match, we saw the Judgment Day absolutely break apart. Damian was like, "Where the hell is Dom?" Which Finn had no idea where he was, which was obviously not the case, right? And then we see the rest of the Judgment Day go looking for Dom afterwards. But you could see Damien and Finn having a little bit of a tense little conversation. But they want to make you believe that all is good between Damien and Finn when all is not, right? And we would see that later. And like I said, they've been teasing Damien and Finn turning on each other for months. Way before even Damien became champion. Um, you know, Finn and Damien both have big egos. They're both big top stars. So it's something that felt obvious from the jump. So yeah, we didn't see Rhea or Dom. It'll be interesting to see now that Finn and Dom are away from the or at least they have breaking apart. It'll be interesting to see JD McDonough. Whose side is he on? Carlito, even though Carlito was never really made an official Judgment Day member. Where is he on all this? Right. Right. Well, is there a new faction being formed? Will it still be called the Judgment Day? Like, Who knows where they go with this? But yeah, moving on. Very good stuff there with Liv and Rhea. We had Braun Breaker versus Sami Zayn. This was not a long match, right? Um, basically Braun really dominated. This match was less than 10 minutes. They did their big moves, but Braun did two spears on Sami Zayn to win the title, right? The whole point is you wanted Zayn to still look like a strong champion, but really, but the big thing is Breaker learning from his mistake, right? From Money in the Bank and capitalizing and not doing the making the same mistake twice. And what, like I said, this wasn't as good as their first match, but it didn't need to be, right? This was establishing Braun Baker as a champion, as a future star in this company. Braun Baker is gonna be one of those guys that leads WWE for the next decade plus, right? This guy has all the tools: the athleticism, the charisma, the strength, the speed. Everything to be a star in this company for the next decade. Um, so yeah, he won. And the thing about it, the second that they booked the rematch, you felt like this was the way they were gonna go. And I'm happy for Braun Breaker, but I'm also sad because how much I love Sami Zayn, and I think Sami Zayn had a fantastic 4 months as Intercontinental Champion. Um, and maybe in the future he'll win the title back, but it'll be interesting to see what's next. Like maybe they do a rematch at like Bash at Berlin, or maybe they'll move Sami Zayn on to something else. Maybe he'll get involved with this new Bloodline saga going on, right? But still, very good, very good stuff here. Braun Breaker. I'm starting to think like Braun Breaker. Maybe we'll get Braun Breaker versus John Cena during Cena's retirement. I read a report earlier this week that they're already planning Cena versus Gunther as one of the matches during Cena's retirement run next year, which I definitely think they should do. But also they can do, of course, Cena versus Gunther trying to get World Championship number 17, but also Cena versus Braun Breaker. Cena going after the only singles title he's never held in WWE. The title that's keeping him from, even though he's viewed as one of WWE's GOAT, he's never held the IC title, which has kept him from being a Grand Slam champion. So that's something to be interested in. But we'll see. We'll face that road when we get there, because I do think we'll get it during the retirement run. But good stuff here from Braun Breaker here. Congratulations to him. I can see him being a very, very long, dominated IC champion. Very good stuff. Next up, we had Logan Paul versus L.A. Knight. Yeah, for the U.S. title, right? Logan Paul, of course, this being in his hometown of Cleveland. He came out with the Cleveland Browns gear. He was accompanied by, of course, MGK. And then LA Knight came out in the truck that he stole from Paul last night on SmackDown, right? He also destroyed a couple of the windows in the truck. Some good stuff. So Logan Paul spat some of the prime drink in Knight's face, which I don't care if it's wrestling or not. I don't want to get spat in the face with something like that. I would have been pissed if that was me. Knight responded by hitting him with a bottle and hitting a TKO on the announce table, right? There was a really, one of the biggest highlights was when Paul did a moonsault. It was a springboard moonsault from Paul, which was really good. Logan Paul, his ability to control himself in the ring, especially on high end moves, is really, really incredible. That's one of the things about him. He really knows how to control his body. He moves at super, super high speed, but he knows how to control his body, it seems like, all the time. That was one of the best things about his springboard moonsault. He also had a really nice looking jumping elbow as well. Or no, that was LA Knight. Um, but yeah. But MGK gave Paul a set of brass knuckles, but it wasn't enough. Paul tried to slingshot him into his normal clothesline, but Paul or Knight stopped it and then hit him with a BFD or BFT to give Paul Knight the win and his first title victory. So good stuff. You know, Logan Paul on one hand, look, he wasn't a good United States champion because he only defended the title twice in nearly 9 months as champ. The only two times he defended was earlier this year, which was that match against Kevin Owens, which he got DQ'd in. Right, he didn't even beat KO, and then the WrestleMania triple threat with KO and Randy. So I don't know what we're talking about here. It was not a good title run. He had some great moments during the title run, but he spent half his time. He had the match with Cody. He did a couple other things as well, but it wasn't like he did anything special. It was more that it brought more eyes to the company because all right, here's this the famous social media star, influencer, content creator, right? Bringing more eyes to the product, because he has a belt. So I guess in terms of a business side, yes, he did elevate the title a little bit, but he didn't do anything with the title in terms of TV, which brought more eyes, right? Him and Knight have had a good feud, and we'll see. Maybe they do a rematch down the road. But it was good to see Knight get the win, especially for everything that Knight has went through. This is the match we had been waiting for months, and we finally got it. We finally got it. And Knight finally gets that first title win. Finally, right? Remember, it was months ago, or just a couple of years ago, around this time, where LA Knight was a manager. He was a manager for I don't even forget it, the fashion model. I don't even forget it. And then he took a bet on himself because remember all those reports that came out saying that he was going to be fired by WWE, and then he wasn't fired, right? He went back to being LA Knight, his normal character, and he's destroyed it ever since. Destroyed it. One of the best things when you see LA Knight, he doesn't even look at the title when he wins it. He just grabs the belt from the ref. The ref didn't even get a chance to hold his hand because Paul grabs the belt and he just starts celebrating on the top rope, which was kind of badass. But no matter how badass he tries to act on screen, you could tell this was a moment that had been coming for him for a long time. Of course, he lost so many title matches before that, but for him, especially for being in this company all these years, great stuff. Great stuff from LA Knight. You could not be happier for him, right? And hopefully he goes on a pretty long run here with the U.S. title. There's so many cool matches you can do with him. With him now as champion, but still, this was a really good stuff, and for everything that he has gone through in his career, to get that moment tonight, especially in that stadium, over 50,000 people in it, you gotta be happy for LA Knight. It's just the beginning for him, especially for someone at his age to be still, at this level. He is absolutely ripped to shreds. His upper chest and his ass, woof, woof. LA Knight, man, woof. I wish he had a channel where he put all his workouts, for real, because he is fantastic. But like I said, enough of that. But LA Knight is the new United States champion. Finally, he wins his first WWE title. Really good stuff here from the megastar. All right, we're gonna take a quick sec to go look on social media, see what's going on here. If you guys have anything to chat, make sure to leave it down there. One thing that's crazy when I look into my camera, bro, my light's right in front of me, so eyes kind of hurt because I have dry eyes. So Let me see.
You're drunk. You've had. Nobody else believes in it. Who's talking? Calm down out there, sir. You're drunk. You've had too much. CM Punk he hasn't had anything. Nobody else believes in it. Who's talking? Calm down. Nobody else believes in it. Who's talking? Calm down out there, sir. You're drunk. You've had too much.
There's this hilarious photo. This is meme. Solo, I'm sorry, you just memed yourself, bud. There's this hilarious photo of Solo, um, outside the ring after Roman came back, just screaming. You know, disappointed that he couldn't get the job done against Roman Reigns, but that is meme material. I'm saving that. That's a new meme alert. There's so much that happened on this show.
Like I said to JT, no, when you win a gold medal, no one cares who scored the points. No one cares who played the minutes. Now to me, it feels like a cover in my tracks, like proving a point type thing, to where like, oh, now Joel's out of the lineup.
Let me see. Oh yeah. Next up, I got this prediction wrong, and this was easy the worst thing on this show. Bailey versus Nia Jax. I was not excited for this match when it was first announced, right? You guys know how I think.
With multiple times world tag team champion, you know, he's had a Hall of Fame career. There's no doubt he's going to be a chance at the Intercontinental Championship, and I think we.
What was I gonna say? Sorry. It's good to see, man. There's a lot. Ooh, Cody Rhodes said at the press conference that Roman Reigns is entitled to a rematch. Ooh, well, he is entitled to a rematch. Give it to me. Give us all it. Maybe, like I said, Bass. When would you guys like to see a Roman versus Cody rematch before we get back to the rest of the review? I don't know. Like, it's not going to be at a future WrestleMania. Could it be this year? Yeah. WWE's biggest show for the rest of the year is probably Survivor Series and I guess in November, but I expect there for us to get the Bloodline War Games match. But I don't know. But like one thing I will say, yes, they have to find a way to elevate Solo. Like I mean, is Solo has to take another step. Right now, Roman's aura, Roman is like up here, Solo's up here. It's not just gonna be like oh Solo like Solo's new bloodline attacks Roman a couple times. No, Solo really has to take that next step. Like whoosh. But yeah, getting back into it, we had Bailey versus Nia Jax. The worst thing of the night for me, honestly. Uh, and and I don't know because when I look at it, look, you want to be happy for Nia Jax, right? And she has been better since she's come back. You know, and she won King of the Ring, and then now she's women's champion. But I'm sorry, I'm just not that impressed with her. I'm just not that impressed with her at all. I know I haven't liked her for years, but you know, I don't know. I don't know if look and like looking at the notes, right? Um, look, the match, it went on for a little bit, but then it slowed down when it was time to sell the big spots. There was remember Bailey and Nia Jax have faced each other lots of times, throughout the years, especially when Bailey was a hugger, back in her previous babyface era. Um, there was Bailey went for a suicide dive. And then Nia caught her, did a Samoa drop. It almost felt like, that at that point it felt obvious that Nia was gonna win, but Bailey hit a power bomb. Like I was like, wait, I didn't know Bailey had that type of power in her. But then Tiffany Stratton ran down with her buddy the briefcase, but then she got knocked off the apron by Bailey. But Jax used the opportunity to hit two power bombs and then two annihilators for the pin and the win. And that was that. There was a moment while Nia was celebrating that she went over and she hugged Roman, or not Roman, The Rock's mom, who was in the crowd. Which some people were like, "Oh, does this mean The Rock's coming back tonight?" And I was like, "Guys, no, slow your roll. We're not seeing The Rock this year. He already made it clear. He made it clear the night after WrestleMania he's not coming back this year. All right, he's busy working on movies. Um, but yeah, Nia wins. I thought maybe we see a cash in from Stratton afterwards. No, we didn't get that. But Nia Jax wins, and Nia is the new women's champion. I'm not a Nia Jax fan. I'm not a Nia Jax fan. You know, um, I don't know. I can't say I'm excited for a Nia Jax title run. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed for Bailey. I'll be honest. Bailey's run, or I'm not saying it was a bad title run, but it wasn't the best. I felt like they could have done more. She had a good match with Naomi, here and there, and they didn't do anything with Bailey and Io after Mania, right? I felt like they could have done like, and I know because we had the draft and Damage Control was put on Raw, but I felt like they could have done like, I would have loved to see like maybe Bailey versus like Dakota Kai, right, in a feud. It's like it's not it's Bailey's fantastic, but it's like her title run never really picked up steam. Right? It never really like got going extra gear. It made part of it is I know there was a couple PLEs she wasn't defending the title on. Uh and that's just one of the things where you have all these titles in WWE. You have one women's title for each brand, right? There's a lot of these PLEs where you only have 5, 6, 7 matches, so it's not like you're getting all the women's titles defended on every single show. Um, but yeah, and I'm not saying I love Bailey; she's great, but her title run, especially compared to some of her past championship reigns, right? Just not the same. Just not the same. Um, I don't know what they do with Nia Jax here. Maybe they go for a rematch. I don't know. Eventually Stratton will cash in, right? I know a lot of people would have wanted to see it tonight. But there was a lot of stuff that was predictable on this show, so maybe they didn't want to make everything super predictable. But it'll be interesting. Maybe down the line, will Stratton like turn on Nia and then cash in on her, or will they wait for something else? Right? Maybe Naomi wins the title from Nia here later in the future, and that's when Stratton cashes in, or something like that. So we'll just see. We'll see. But yeah, this was definitely the weakest part of the show for me. The bathroom break. Oh, and I see Chris Haley says, Charlotte's going to. That is something to keep in mind here. Charlotte will be back eventually. Um, Probably not. She's not close yet, right? But I do think, yeah, probably by the end of the year we'll see Charlotte back. And she'll have something to say about this. If she's still on SmackDown. Let's do another quick check on social media, see if there's anything I'm forgetting. Triple H is doing his press conference right now. Triple H just said, if what I believe to be true is coming true, you ain't seen nothing yet. I don't even know. Well, we don't know who Triple H is. Triple H is, working hard behind the scenes on a bunch of crazy shit. So, you know, the Triple H era it's been incredible so far. That's all I gotta say, really. Huh. MLB said when Roman Reigns' music hit hashtag SummerSlam. MLB's official Twitter account tweeted about SummerSlam and not baseball. That's wild. All right. I think that's it for now. Anyway, let's get back to it. So, next up we had Seth Rollins as a special guest referee for um CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. This is a match you could have really advocated could be the main event of this show. Really, this has been one of the best feuds in WWE all year long. Well, we know the history, right? Of course, what happened in the Royal Rumble when McIntyre injured CM Punk, cost him his tricep, which took CM Punk out of the main event for WrestleMania. And then, of course, we know how Punk cost McIntyre cost McIntyre the World Heavyweight Championship on 3 different occasions over the last 6 months. How that indirectly affected Seth Rollins and his quest to be at the top of Raw once again, right? And everything that's happened from McIntyre taking Punk's bracelet that had his dog and his wife AJ Lee's name on it. This has been one of the best stories in WWE all year long, and the work that these two have done has been incredible. Another thing to note, this was supposed to be CM Punk's first singles match in WWE in over 10 years. Cleveland was also the city that Punk originally walked out of WWE of, right? So there was a lot of special a lot of cool stuff coming from this feud. And first off, it was great to see CM Punk back in a ring in a not just this year, but just a one-on-one singles match, right? One of my favorite SummerSlam matches of all time is CM Punk versus Brock Lesnar from SummerSlam 2013, right? The Beast versus the best in the world. I love that match. That was what this match was giving up, right? But going into it, this was probably the most difficult match to pick because you could go either way on both on either star, right? But I said this, and if I did a preview prediction show, I would have said this. McIntyre needed this win more, especially since Punk had screwed him so many times. Even though it made sense, Punk's reasons for screwing McIntyre all made sense because they were in response to what stuff McIntyre did. No matter injuring him at the Royal Rumble and then saying that he prayed for Punk to get injured and it happened, or if it was Punk. Or it was McIntyre absolutely destroying Punk after Clash of the Castle in Chicago, right? Or stealing Punk's bracelet. Punk is respectfully been justified in all of his all the times he's costing McIntyre the World Heavyweight Championship. But I really did believe, especially if this, I knew coming into this feud's not over, right? This is not just going to be a one and done. But going into it, you knew that McIntyre probably needed to win more, especially from a momentum sake. Punk can lose this match and be okay, right? McIntyre needed it. If McIntyre loses, his obsession with Punk just would have continued, right? But, now you could have McIntyre say, all right, I'm done with you, right? But then Punk's like, no, I'm not done with you. I'm getting my pound of flesh. This isn't over till I say it's over. This is also another match that when we get the Bad Blood in, I believe October, maybe this is a match that ends up being, for Hell in a Cell if they want to do Hell in a Cell at that pay-per-view. Remember, Bad Blood is when the first Hell in a Cell match happened, which I believe was Undertaker and Mankind, if I'm right. But it was either Undertaker and Mankind or Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. But uh, still, I think this is a feud that's clearly worthy of a Hell in a Cell match at some point. Um, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do going forward with that. But going into the match, Seth Rollins came in with one of his wacky fashion one. He had like this referee jacket, and then he took it off, and he had this, his referee shirt was sparkling, and he also had some extra sparkly pants, right? So McIntyre and Punk are um, staring daggers at each other from the opposite sides of the ring. Then um, Rollins, definitely took some time before the match started to give both men instructions, and then he would wait. He waited about a minute for actually starting the match to really let the crowd hype it up, and they started going at it. This wasn't a technical match. This was a fight. This was a brawl, and that's what it was. These two went at each other hard, and of course, I wanted to see how Punk moved, because it's wrestling, but it's WWE is different from AEW. Remember, Punk's last singles match was right around a year ago, right around this time when we had AEW All In 2023, when him and Samoa Joe faced off, right? And like I said, the way they wrestle in AEW is a little bit different than WWE. AEW focuses a lot more on crazy power moves and near falls. Every other move is a finisher, right? WWE is more of a sports entertainment type presentation, right? And depending on what the story is, that determines what kind of match they do. A lot of AEW's matches to me are the same. They're going for the 5-star match every single time. WWE, they're gonna give you a 5-star match through great wrestling and storytelling. That's, to me, is like the biggest difference between AEW and WWE. Plus, of course, you have Triple H running the WWE's creative division, and then Tony Khan, who isn't creative at all, right? But anyway, um, yeah, there was some great stuff here. These two just went at it. Um, and then, what was interesting is Rollins kept, really asserting his authority here and there. There was different moments where McIntyre would try to get Rollins like, hey, let me use this chair, right? I can take him out, finish this now, and then, you and me can go back to carrying Raw and determining who should be the best, right? But Rollins wouldn't let him do it. Punk kept getting in, Rollins' face, saying that Punk was pushing, or that Rollins was pushing his own agenda as the referee. Rollins kept reminding Punk how much he hates him, right, and doesn't think Punk belongs there at all. Really good stuff. As the match continued, the big thing is Punk made the same mistake that McIntyre had been making the last couple months. Punk let his emotions get the best of him, and took his eyes off the ball, the same way McIntyre kept taking his eyes off the ball when it came to the World Heavyweight Championship, because he was so obsessed with Punk, right? But yeah, things picked up when basically Punk finally laid out McIntyre and was able to finally get the bracelet that that McIntyre had taken from him weeks ago in Chicago, right? It was in McIntyre's trunk, and then he kissed it. There was a moment where Punk got it back and he kissed it. I was like, that you realize that was in another man's drawer. It was like, what are you doing? Um, but we saw there then, that Rollins picked up the bracelet, right? At some point. Oh, because Punk had just gotten the bracelet back, but then McIntyre hit him with a claymore, and the bracelet fell. Punk kicked out, But Rollins decided to take the bracelet up because he thought it was causing too much of a distraction in the ring. But then Punk got up and saw that Rollins was wearing the bracelet, and he got pissed. He got pissed. Then they started trading harsh words, right? Rollins was like, this is what's wrong with you. Instead of focusing on the match, you're always got to make everything about yourself. You're a stupid son of a bitch. You shouldn't be here. I'm going to make sure you get out of here. And then Punk had enough. He hit Rollins with a GTS, right? Then he goes over the Punk. He says, I may not, things aren't always about me, but things are definitely never about you, which was that was straight bars, right? Then because of this allowed, Punk got distracted. This allowed McIntyre to hit Punk with a low blow, similar to Punk. It's not like you could really feel bad because Punk had hit multiple low blows on McIntyre in the last couple of months. And then McIntyre hit him with another Claymore. And then Rollins, there was a lot of callbacks in this match to the famous Shawn Michaels refereeing Bret Hart and The Undertaker at SummerSlam 1997, which Michael Cole did allude to. But Rollins goes to count the pin, and he did the delay where he just looked at McIntyre. He didn't want to, but he knew he had to. And then he counted the 3. So McIntyre gets the win, which, of course, he needed. And yeah, then McIntyre takes the bracelet off of Punk's hand, kisses it, and calls it justice, right? And he said, "This is over. Goodbye." But yeah, really, really good stuff here. This was really, really fun, right? It felt like a big fight for you, and I love that the commentators were like, "Yeah, these two want to beat the hell of it, and we just get to enjoy it as part of our jobs, right? We get to enjoy it in this what we call professional wrestling, sports entertainment perk, which I did love." Then after, so yeah, that was it. You can see Rollins was pissed as he walked out, as he ripped off his referee shirt. So it'll be interesting to see what they do next. Clearly, this is not over, right? I think one thing that'll be interesting, especially now that Gunther is the world heavyweight champion, one thing that will be interesting to see, who will be his first challenger. Unless I don't think Damien's gonna challenge him right away because it looks like, of course, he's gonna be in a feud with Finn Balor in the Judgment Day. So it'll be interesting. Maybe I could see something like maybe there's like a triple threat between Punk, Rollins, and McIntyre to determine the number one contender, or maybe they end up doing like some kind of fatal 4-way at like Bash in Berlin or something to continue this. But it'll be interesting. I think definitely, like I said, the Punk and McIntyre stuff is not done. It's not done by a long shot. It'll just be interesting to see what's the next stage. Does it involve the World Heavyweight Championship? Will Seth Rollins, go after Punk since Punk was the one that hit him with a GTS, right? McIntyre didn't do much of anything to Rollins in this match. This was more about Punk and Rollins, right? And like I said, it's also, thing coming full circle with Punk let his emotions get the best of him and made mistakes, which actually cost him the match. The same thing of what happened to McIntyre earlier. So, good stuff. Good stuff. We'll be interested to see where this goes, man. I'm really, really excited now for Raw on Monday, man. Usually SummerSlam, you might get a couple, returns. You never know. But of course, with the way all these storylines are going, really, really good stuff. Taking another break here, guys. If you guys are watching the stream or you guys are watching on demand, thank you guys for taking your time to enjoy this. Leave a like on the video. Subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. Hit the bell next to my name, Fitz TV, so you guys are notified every time I post a new video. I'm trying to remember, man. When you like I said, I'm getting tired because this is the lights go directly into my eyes. Chris asks, do I know about Mercedes? Yes, I do know about Mercedes and her divorce. Huh. The way Dom's gonna get booed on Monday on Raw, man. Oof.
What just happened? Still
Everyone's giving their reactions on Twitter.
He folded.
Oh, that is funny. Someone said Roman had three of the greatest returns in WWE history. Of course, when he originally came back and announced that he was in remission from cancer. Um, when he came back at SummerSlam 2020 during COVID and originally turned heel, the start of the Tribal Chief era, and now his return tonight. No, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. But yeah. All right, next up we had Gunther. People going crazy. Oh, WWE released a new. Oh, WWE released a new WWE Roman Reigns WWE has released a new Roman Reigns WWE title design to celebrate the 1,316 days that Roman was undisputed WWE champion. Interesting. Comes with they've only made 1,000. They have a limited quantity. They've only made 1,316 versions of this title. Has numbered end plates, so you know how many of these have been made and which one yours is. Interesting. That's cool. Has a custom Roman Reigns strap with side plates. Mm.
He has sort of.
Huh. Someone said the return of the Roman Empire. I don't know about that. The Roman Empire, that gives cringy vibes. Cringy vibes. I don't know if I want that. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Any other comments before we move forward?
Straight edge. He doesn't drink. He doesn't do drugs, but he spends all his time in rehab. I think he'd start drinking. He could go to all kinds of rehab. Into the right side.
I would say yeah. The next part, interest. Yeah. So next up, Damian Priest versus Gunther for the world title. So before the match, Finn Balor went up to rest in peace, OG Judgment Day. Yeah, yes indeed. Um. So before the match, Finn Balor goes up to Gunther, or not Gunther. He goes up to Damian, says we can't find Dom, but that's okay. You got a big title match I'm the focus on. Um, and then Finn says to Damien, I know you don't want me out there, but still, if you do, just give me the call. And Damien says, I appreciate you. And he goes out there. Gunther comes out. I'm not the biggest Gunther fan, if I'm being honest. The guy's an amazing wrestler. I'm just not a big fan of the guy. You know? I don't know him or anything. I'm not a Gunther guy. you know. But then uh Damien comes out. I will say this: Damien has grown a lot. I know a lot of people give him some crap for the botch with was it? I think it was Seth Rollins and Money in the Bank, right? No one's perfect, of course, and it's remember, it, WWE wrestlers they're supposed to perform on the highest levels in front of a live audience, in front of millions and millions of people watching worldwide. What they do is tough. It's tough, you know. But I'll say this: Damian Priest had a really good run as World Heavyweight Champion. Him first off against Jey Uso, him against McIntyre and Seth Rollins. It wasn't a long run; it was only about 4 months, but he has grown as world champion. Plus, he's built a pretty decent relationship with the fans in the meantime, right? I had some concerns at first when you could tell from the start that they wanted to turn him babyface, right? I know he was babyface when he first came up to the main roster. Then they turned him heel when they made the Judgment Day. Now they've turned him back into a babyface. But he has grown a lot. He has grown a lot, and you can tell that the crowd is slowly, really, coming behind him. And he has turned himself into a star, right? Um, and yeah, and the guy can put on bangers. He can put on some really good match. Him and Gunther, man, this was a really, really good match. You can make a debate that this was the best match of the night, bell to bell. Like this was a war. This was a war, man. But yeah, but Damien had the momentum to start. But then Gunther suplexed him on the apron. Priest used some kickboxing skills to diss out Gunther. But then Gunther took control as well. It was very, very back and forth. Then Balor showed up to cheer his Judgment Day teammate on. Then we saw Priest rally, which really got the crowd behind him. Then we saw looked like Priest was about to get the win. He did the South of Heaven choke slam. And then all of a sudden you saw Finn Balor put Gunther's leg on the rope. Priest had no idea about it. Priest was like, "What the hell? What happened? The match should be over." And then they showed the replay on the big board, and you could see Priest actually looking at it. I like that detail of Priest actually looking on the big screens in the stadium to see that Finn Balor screwed him. And then he looks behind him. Priest is pissed, right? And you knew, all right, this is the beginning of the end, right? Balor is looking back like, got your ass. But yeah, but I love the ending to this match. This was great. So Gunther puts Damien into the sleeper hold, right? And then Balor's watching this, but Priest was actually able to fight out of it. It wasn't the end of the match. He was able to fight out of it. But instead of going back to Gunther, he actually tries to attack Finn Balor because he was so filled with rage of what Finn's betrayal. And then Gunther puts him back into the sleeper one more time. And this time, Damien passes out. And Gunther is your new World Heavyweight Champion. That was that. So this was also another obvious betrayal. We knew that Finn was going to betray Priest at some point. They had been setting this up not just for weeks, not just for months, but really over the last year. Really, there are many instances where Finn and Damien were butting heads, right? Even back when they were like the tag team champions on Raw last year. But now they finally did it. So Gunther now becomes the World Heavyweight Champion. Great for him. I think it'll be interesting. Gunther could hold that title for a long time. We don't know, right? I think of course the easy thing everyone would think, oh, Gunther's gonna hold on to the title till WrestleMania, right? And then maybe then they'll give it to like CM Punk or maybe McIntyre or something like that. But I don't know. I can see Gunther holding that title for a long time. I expect Gunther and Cody to be, the top champions on Raw and SmackDown, at least, for the foreseeable future. And even though I'm not the biggest Gunther guy, it's been incredible to see his run um, through the WWE from years, like from NXT, especially that how big he was back then, to getting in shape, running through NXT as the NXT UK champion, and his run on the main roster of NXT, then coming up and then holding the IC championship for over 800 days and breaking that record, and now winning King of the Ring, and then now becoming World Heavyweight Champion, man. All in the span of a couple years. Gunther's run has been extremely, extremely impressive. And we'll see how that continues now that he is the World Heavyweight Champion on Raw. Like I said, I would not be surprised if on Monday, the sub his first challenger, right? If it has something to do with like CM Punk, McIntyre, and Rollins, maybe some kind of triple threat, something like that to determine his first challenger. But we'll see, we'll see. There's a lot of cool matches you can now do with Gunther as champion. You can always do Sami Zayn, Jey Uso. They can always do a rematch with Damian Priest if they want. Of course, Rollins, McIntyre, and Punk, right? So Gunther has a lot of cool competitors that they can do going forward with him, which would be cool to see. In terms of the Finn Balor and Gunther, or the Finn Balor and Damian Priest situation, right? It'll be interesting. Like I said earlier, will Finn go off? Will Finn, take full leadership now of the Judgment Day? Will they go off and do something else? Like, will they come up with a different faction from the Judgment Day? Right? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, though. Like, I think the Damien situation with Finn's going to be very, very interesting to see how long that goes. But cool stuff, man. Really, really good stuff from that. But yeah. Other than that, the last thing, of course, is Cody versus Solo for the WWE title. We already talked about most of this stuff in earlier in the review, but the stuff we didn't talk about. First, Cody got an elaborate entrance. Very Solo didn't get anything. I think after Solo's performance tonight in the main event, he didn't need to get anything, but Cody got a very big entrance. They showed him coming out of his tour bus, and then of course his dog Farrell, helped him through the backstage area. His dog is so cute, so cute. Um, then we saw Arn Anderson. Arn Anderson made a special cameo to give him a quick little prep talk and let him know that, hey, you have friends back here too that are here to help you. Um, then he walked up through Gorilla, and then he had a special mask, special scrawl mask, very similar to the one he had at WrestleMania Night 2. That for for his match against Solo. And then he comes out to a wicked good pop. And yeah, of course Samantha Irving does her job introducing the main event. Um, and yeah, but it started off with a pretty slow exchange. Cody hit Solo with a suicide dive, right? But this was a pretty slower paced match, and I felt like they did that more for Solo than Cody. Of course, we know Cody can pick up the pace at any time, but this felt like they did that a lot more for Solo here. Like I said, Solo wasn't that impressive. Solo had some cool moves here and there. His style reminds me just a little bit of Samoa Joe, but he's, like I said, I'm not saying he is Samoa Joe, but at all. But he does have some similarities here and there. All right, and then of course the Bloodline came through. Randy Orton and Kevin Owens came up, and it felt like WrestleMania all over again with the Avengers Assemble. So Tama Tonga and Tangaloa came out. Randy Orton and KO hit a couple stunners and RKO's, right? Uh, then Cody hit two crossroads on Solo. He went for a third one, and then Jacob Fatu came out, right? Then uh basically then they Jacob Fatu put him to the announce table, but clearly he injured himself. I already talked about how there's a video out there of him needing help to the back by referees, which will be interesting to see, especially since him and Tama Tonga just won the tag team championships on Friday. Sorry that DIY got put through that like that. Oh, I hate that for DIY. Like I don't see what the point was of taking the crowning DIY the new tag team champions if you're just gonna do that with the bloodline. Like, I don't know. But then, yeah. And then after that, of course, we all know Roman comes back, and we already talked about that. He hits Solo with a Superman punch and a spear combo, and then Cody hits one crossroads, and he gets the win and defends his title. So yes, so like I said, great stuff. Roman, the OTC, the original tribal chief, is finally back. So good stuff here. Really good stuff. Derby Entertainment says the real question was, is it better than WrestleMania? Are you talking about the match or the show? Like I don't know. I feel like especially with WrestleMania being 2 nights now, you can't really compare SummerSlam. I know in future years, we know starting next year, SummerSlam, I believe in Indianapolis will be a 2-night event, which is cool. But I don't think you can judge or compare SummerSlam to a 2-night WrestleMania. So we'll see. But yeah. But other than that, that's the end of the show. Like I said, this was a phenomenal SummerSlam, filled with awesome returns like Roman Reigns, title changes left and right. Outside of Nia Jax, who cares? But we also had some epic matches. Damian Gunther was a banger. My opinion, probably the match of the night, or Punk and McIntyre, take your pick, or Liv and Rhea. That was another good match as well. And then of course we had some epic betrayals as well, as we see Finn and Dom betray Rhea and Damian, which is interesting because you look at Rhea and Damian, they were the two leaders really of the Judgment Day, right, for the last couple of years after they kicked out Edge, and now we're entering into this new era of the Judgment Day. With now with Finn, Dom, let's guessing JD. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that going forward, and will Finn and Damian, or not Finn, will Rhea and Damian form their own duo or their own faction? Like, how does that all work? Like a new Judgment Day. I don't know. But still, it's going to be very, very entertaining to see. Very, very cool stuff of what was a successful SummerSlam. Lots of cool storylines out to go forward on Raw and SmackDown. So, excited for that. But yeah, let me know in the comment section, what was your favorite part of SummerSlam? What was your favorite match? What was your favorite moment? What thing are you guys looking forward to the most coming out of SummerSlam on Raw and SmackDown? Let me know. I'm gonna get out of here. Other than that, if you guys enjoyed the podcast tonight, leave a like on the video. Subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. Hit the bell right next to my name, Fitz TV, so you guys are notified every time I post a new video. I will see you guys later. Maybe I'll see you guys for Raw this week. We'll see. But like I said, still, thank you guys for joining me. I will see you guys later. Have a good night now.